Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk leadership in boutique retail settings. What does that mean? Think wireless retail, think AV, think uh, appliances, anything outside of your traditional big box retail locations. And typically, this means that we're a little bit more focused, more specialized in what we're doing. And we're not just selling the physical products, but more importantly, there's actual services that come along with it. So, actually knowing what we're talking about, knowing what we're doing is pretty important for the roles as a district leader, as a regional, as a store manager. It's very important that your people are up on their skills and better at what they're doing than, for instance, some of the other companies that are just big box retail and people understand that these people aren't going to be the most knowledgeable on the block. Um, and that has to do with the kind of positions that we're in, right? So, over the last few episodes, we talked about why your coaching isn't sticking. We've talked about, what you're doing wrong as a leader, some of the things that you're missing when it comes to your system, your coaching, or lack thereof. Today, we're going to talk about a system that actually works, right? And we're not going to talk about something where you need to do like a full 8 hour day, a weekend training, nothing crazy like that. This is going to be a quick intro into the system that's worked for me that I've used, I've developed, I've helped others learn as well, that has been used to do quick fixes when it comes to coaching sessions, to offer better ability for our people to actually become better salespeople. And that's the most important thing that we need to work on. So, a lot of things that you got to keep in mind. Okay. Big data dumps don't work. And oftentimes, when you're doing those hour-long coaching sessions, those review sessions, performance reviews, whatever you want to call it, okay, it's typically you offering a lot more insight into their behavior, into their actions, than them realizing and uncovering them taking action over or taking ownership over the actions, over the behaviors that they're doing. Okay. So you don't need hour-long sessions to change behavior. You need 15 minutes and a system that actually works. So in wireless retail, for instance, let's be real, time is tight. You don't have a lot of people on the floor typically. You don't feel like you have the time often to be able to devote to actual training. You feel that you're being pulled in every direction, and coaching just gets shoved to the bottom of the to-do list. Like, I got to hit these numbers because this store is underperforming, these people are underperforming, my bonus is on the line, whatever the case is. Okay. I've been there, I understand where you're coming from. But here's the truth about it: if you're not coaching daily, you're just managing chaos. You're not doing anything that's actually making an impactful change for your people or for yourself at that point. Okay. So today I'm going to give you the structure that will help you coach in under 15 minutes without hurting productivity or getting stuck in long conversations that go nowhere. Now, the time is not the problem for you when it comes to coaching, district manager, regional, territory, whatever you call yourself. Okay. Time is not the problem. Let's get that straight. It's the lack of structure. That's the problem. Coaching doesn't need to take an hour. When it's done properly, it needs to be purposeful, focused. Most importantly, it needs to be repeatable. You should be able to do this system over and over again. You should be able to have this kind of coaching conversation over and over again. And 15 minutes works if you know what to say, how to say it, and what to ask next. And that's often the issue that a lot of us have, especially if you're barely getting into the role or if you haven't been developed and trained properly. You got put into this position, could be because of tenure, could be because you're the only one that they trusted in the area because your operations were good, not necessarily because your sales were stellar. Okay. But we want to change everything. I want you to be able to be impactful when it comes to your people. I want you to be able to help your people develop and become better because when they become better, their performance becomes better. And guess what that does to you? Guess what that does to your bonus? As a leader, your bonus becomes a whole lot better. Their commission becomes a whole lot bigger. So your people become happier. Okay. because they're working less in their eyes because it doesn't feel like work anymore now. And they're making more money. And when they make more money, you as a leader in the area make more as well. And that's the truth. And that's what you need to work on, right? So those 15 minutes, it works because you know what to say, how to say it, and what to ask next. And that's often the missing piece because it's the ownership aspect that you're taking away when you do your coaching sessions. If you feel that your coaching it doesn't work, people aren't listening, they keep doing the same thing over and over again, you feel like you're repeating yourself, it's because there is no ownership stake. You are telling as opposed to letting your people take ownership of the actions of what they're saying they're going to do. So remember, it's not about the amount of time something takes. It's about the framework, the system that you're using. Is it easy? Is it repeatable? Are you going to be able to get results from it? Because if you're repeating yourself, you're not going to get the same results over and over. Okay. It's not repeatable. And we want to shift that. Now, I'm going to break down the 15-minute framework step by step for y'all. This is the framework that I've used for myself when I was a seller, right? To increase my sales, to make sure I knew what I was doing, what I needed to focus on. It's what I use when I become a store manager with my teams at multiple locations. It's what I used as a DM to be able to help my districts become better and be able to double production in more than one territory. And it's what I introduced nationwide to make things easier for new hires when they came on board. Is that easy and that impactful? So the first thing, you got to set the intent. People have to know that this is what we're going to be doing. And this is what we're working on today, right? It can be something as simple as that when you start the coaching conversation. Remember, coachings are not write-ups. So don't come in expecting to write somebody up and be like, yeah, this is your coaching session, also AKA your write-up. So improve or you're gone. That's not how things work. You don't coach and expect to threaten people on the same page and expect behavior to become better. Expect culture to become better. Expect people to change that way. Mm-mm. It don't work. I've lived the change the people or change the people, and it don't work. You got to be camp one, which is you got to change the people's behavior. And you only do that by spending time training and developing people. And if you can't commit to that, you're not a leader. That's it. You got to really look inside and understand. To be a leader means that I need to spend more time training and developing my people, just like a coach. I'm a coach now. That is what you are. But I lead by example. You don't lead by example. Leading by example means you coach, you train, mentor, guide people. So when you go into your coaching sessions, you have to make sure you've set time aside to be able to do this so they know what the intent is. It's not that you just randomly show up to a location and be like, hey, John, come here real fast. We're going to do a coach session. They should know, all right, Omar's here. That means we're doing coaching sessions. Or they should know, all right, Omar's here. He said we are going to do a coaching session. We came to visit. They know ahead of time what you're doing, what you're going to be doing with them in that respect. So set the intention. And when you set up, right? All right, let's talk about, you know, what we need to work on. Let's talk about goals. Boom. Simple as that. Okay. So you focus on the goal sessions, previous attainment, current attainment. That helps you to focus on skills. That allows you to focus on like some of the behaviors that need to change, right? Because it's letting you know what's important to them as to what KPIs they want to hit, what KPIs stood out to them, what KPIs they want to improve on. You're letting them take the reins on it. Then you focus on one thing. I don't care if there's 10 KPIs that you're trying to track. You don't improve on 10 KPIs at once. You improve on one, and that cascades to the others. So you got to focus on that behavior. You got to be intentional. Oftentimes, you can do the 15-minute coaching frameworks and observations as well, and that's what leads to better results. Okay. So you now talked about the goals. Then we go on to the next thing. You want to help observe and adjust what they're doing. And when you're doing a 15-minute coaching sessions when there's no customers in sight, that's the best time to do it. Because at that point, you can have them walk you through a customer interaction. You can have them visualize the actions that they took, the actions they wish they had taken. How could that interaction have played differently? Let that come to fruition, right? Let them give you one where things went good. What was different between the one that went good and then the one where we could have done better? They start to visualize the differences and they can visualize how that interaction could have gone differently. And then we write down, okay? We write down the actions. We write down the question we could ask or the questions we could have asked in the manner that we could have asked it. It's as simple as that, guys. And that's going to help shape the behavior because now you're making them think. Here's the power of visualization that people don't use. Your mind, and I will die on this hill, guys. Your mind cannot differentiate between doing it in real life, doing an action or behavior in real life, and visualizing it. That's the impact because you can run. Think about that. You just ran two or three customer interactions, two or three role play sessions in the span of 5, 10 minutes where they actually walked themselves through. They saw the customer expression, they saw their expression. That's where things start to make a difference. That's where things start to become better. And as a coach, that's what you want to focus on. As a leader, that's what you're wanting to imprint because now they're becoming more observant. Now they're becoming more conscious about what they're doing and what they're not doing. And that's the important thing. Now, that helps them to start taking ownership of things because you close things down and you ask them to commit to something. And then you don't tell them what to commit to. Okay. You ask them to commit to something. Something as simple as what are you trying to commit to today? Or what are you trying to commit to achieving this week or this month? Something as simple as that. And that's what leads a conversation into a proper coaching experience. Okay. And that's what you want to focus on. Now, for instance, if you're using the 15-minute coaching framework, you got, goal sessions, the focus. This is where we write down the action items. And this is the commitment section. Really straightforward. And it's super easy to follow. And it's a psychology that grounds people into that to allow them to be able to become better at what they're doing and become better salespeople. And that's what we're trying to achieve. That's what we want to do. Because when you can do that as a DM, territory, regional, now you can train your store managers, your assistant managers to be able to do the same thing. So now the coachings start to become more consistent. And that's what we need to focus on, consistency, because consistency is greater than intensity. And what I mean by that is you all been to uh, a sales seminar. If you're a leadership, you've been to it. If you haven't, I recommend checking it out. That way you understand. They're big rah, rah, rah moments. Your company's done them. You've been to them. I guarantee you this. They make you feel good about, things that are said, um, the way that you felt about the experience. They make you feel good. Okay. They make you pump your chest up, scream, whatever the case is. That's part of it. Where it falls off is there's no follow up afterwards. So you may have learned a lot of information. You're going to retain about 10, 20% of that because that might be the 10, 20% that stuck that you could have remembered and that you were able to somehow utilize right away. And that's the issue with it. The other 80% that was probably far more valuable, where'd that go? What was it? Who knows? And that's what you want to prevent. So the power of being able to do small coaching sessions instead of doing we're going to do a big old training, we're going to focus on all of this, and this is what we're going to give you. and you focus on breaking it down to small coaching sessions, focusing on behaviors, is that you're not doing once, you're doing it consistently over and over again. So that allows you to focus on follow up, on behavioral change, on habits. That's the big one, right? We talked about it the other day too, how a small degree in change may seem very, very small, but when you start going out further, it starts to widen. So even though at first it might seem small and just minuscule, that degree of change is huge in the long run. That is how you turn performers that were underperforming or barely on that cusp of performance into great sellers that are performing 10, 20, 50% better than they were before. That makes a difference. That shift makes a huge difference in the way that not only your team performs, how they show up on the KPIs, how they show up during executive visits, but also how they show up when it comes to their pay plan, their pay structure, which in turn for you as a leader means a lot. And that's what you got to focus on when it comes to your leadership style. Training and development is huge. That is very important. It should be the core of what you do as a leader in any leadership position. Okay. Because micro coaching is done consistently, they outperform anything else, right? It's going to outperform your long ass 8 hour training day, your weekend long training. That doesn't work because none of the information is retained. And that's the issue that I have with those sessions. That's why micro coaching sessions, micro learnings are so much better for you and your team, right? It allows you to build a skill the same way you build a muscle through repetition, not through lectures, not through theory, but you bring it up, you coach on it, and then you're able to implement it right away. And you rinse and repeat. And that's how it becomes a habit because they start taking those learnings and they start winning with it. And that allows them to retain the information and want to use it again because they get that dopamine hit of, oh my God, this worked. I can't believe it was this easy. So they do it again and they do it more often. So you don't have to coach on that anymore. You can move on to the next thing and you improve from there. And where they were doing bad, now they're performing better. And guess what? That becomes their new baseline. So they only become better from there because they had a coach. Just like you have a physical trainer that helps you to adjust so that you're doing things correctly so you don't injure yourself. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. And that's what we want to get to. So don't worry about needing more time. It's not, I need hours to be able to do these coaching sessions. No, 15 minutes is enough time when you have the right system to follow, the right framework for coaching sessions. And that's what you need, a better system. So the 15-minute coaching framework gives you the exact structure, the layout to start coaching your teams effectively and consistently starting today. Okay. So go into the link in the bio, go to a link in the video description, grab the 15-minute coaching framework. Do it today because tomorrow we're talking about how this system has helped turn districts from underperforming to being amazing performers, doubling the performance in that area. Okay. So I'm going to cut it short today, leave it at that. I want to thank you guys once again for taking your time and joining us here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.